On February 9th, 2010, First Lady Michelle Obama initiated Let's Move, a campaign to end childhood obesity in the United States. Let's Move doesn't just want to make children thinner, it wants to stop the incidence of heart disease, high blood pressure, and asthma afflicting obese children. On April 22, 2009, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, or CDC, activated its Emergency Operations Center to combat the H1N1 virus, which had begun to sicken and kill weaker Americans. The CDC led the search for a vaccine, and during the fall of 2009, millions of Americans were protected by that vaccine from a disease which had reached pandemic proportions. So what do these two cases share in common? Why, on a day when I am supposed to speak to you about smoking, am I talking about obesity and the swine flu? Because both of these cases clearly show the responsibility the federal government bears in protecting public health. In the preamble of the Constitution, our founding fathers wrote that they intended to provide for the general welfare. Today, that means using our resources and our laws to protect against health threats, like the greatest health threat of them all, smoking. Smoking remains one of the most serious threats to public health, more serious than obesity or the swine flu, and the United States federal government must take serious action to end that threat. It must illegalize smoking throughout the United States. Let me give you some facts. According to the CDC, smoking causes approximately 443,000 deaths in the United States every year. That's about 1 in every 5 deaths overall. Smoking increases the risk of heart disease and stroke 2 to 4 times. It increases the risk of lung cancer in men 23 times and in women 13 times. Smokers are 12 to 13 times more likely to die from chronic obstructive lung diseases like bronchitis and emphysema. Smoking's harmful effects are not limited to the lungs, though. It harms nearly every organ of the body. And, of course, these effects are not limited to smokers. Those who regularly breathe the smoke exhaled from a smoker, known as secondhand smoke, suffer as well. Secondhand smoke increases the risk of heart disease in non-smokers by 25 to 35%, and the risk of lung cancer by 20 to 30%. It causes an estimated 46,000 heart disease deaths and 3,400 lung disease deaths among adults annually. Worst of all, secondhand smoke produces 150,000 to 300,000 new cases of bronchitis and pneumonia in children, leading to 7,500 to 15,000 hospitalizations annually in innocent children who never have a choice on whether to smoke. Smoking is killing men and women, young and old. It is a more serious public health threat than any other we face, but we can stop it. Over the past 18 years, state governments across the nation have passed smoking bans to protect their citizens. As of July of 2010, 23 such states have enacted these bans, and now they protect a vast majority of American citizens. According to a Gallup poll, from 2000 to 2008, as these bans increased dramatically, national smoking rates have dropped from 25 to 21%. Now, the smoking bans may not have caused that drop by themselves. After all, smoking rates have been steadily dropping from their high of 40% in the 1970s. But smoking bans have helped this drop in rates. As these state bans increase, fewer Americans smoke, and more Americans become opposed to smoking. A federal ban would take this positive momentum and sweep it across the nation. The nation has worked hard to warn about the dangers of smoking and encourage people to stop. That work is about to pay off. If we illegalize smoking throughout the nation, our work will come one step closer to stopping this health menace that has killed more than any terrorist attack ever could. Not only should we do this, but we must. Not bad. About 435, 437. So that's just a tad bit short. Might want to slow it down or pad it a little bit to make sure that it's getting a little bit closer to 5. But if you are in the range of 430 to 5 on minutes, you'll be fine. You will not lose a point from me. If you're shorter than that, if you're not filling your time, then you might lose some points just on length of time. All right, let's see. Let's talk first of all What did you notice about the visual presentation? Yeah, Haven. Okay. So there's a direct relationship between what I'm saying and what's going on there. Jeremy? Same thing. Aaron? Yeah. Not many slides. Good. David, did you have... Oh, Josiah.
They pointed out a lot of important facts in the speech that could have persuaded people. I thought they were like persuasive.
Okay, so there were powerful statements on there, right? Very good. So we do have powerful statements, but I will disagree with you in one sense, Josiah. I actually did not include a single one of my detailed facts on there. You didn't see a single stat on any of those slides. So you're right that I have powerful statements, but they're more like topic sentences than they are like details. Okay? Yeah, Connor. Why would I divide my speech into sections through the visual presentation, Connor? What would I hope to achieve? On whose part? Correct. Better understanding on the audience's part. Notice that I'm barely looking at my presentation. And by the way, if you are delivering a presentation like this, do not look at the screen. You should know exactly what's on there. You should be looking at the audience. Correct, David. The screen is up there to help the audience organize things so that they can have that visual clue. But it's not up there for me. In fact, you should notice that in my teaching a lot too, that I don't look at the screen. I have this screen up there for you. Sometimes it's there for me to help me organize what I'm doing, but for the most part it's there for you. Tori. Yep. Tori, why don't I use more pictures then? Why do I use the pictures where I do, and why don't I use more pictures? Pictures kind of stimulate people a little bit emotionally. They have connections. Right, and that's good for an introduction. So I use the picture of the First Lady, and I use the picture of the vaccine for my introduction. But then, you're right, Tori, it doesn't really tell me anything clearly. So when I want people to understand my argument, I go to words. And they could be a little bit distracting, and I don't want to distract in the middle. Jessica. That's true. So it organizes the speech in few words. Oh, what I really dislike, and you should dislike too, about student presentations is when you look at a slide and it's got 300 words on it. What happens when you see a slide with 300 words? What do you do as an audience member?
You try to focus on that and not the audience.
You have two choices. You are either focusing on that, not paying attention to the speaker, or you're paying attention to the speaker, not focusing on that. Either way, you lose one half of the equation. So do not include excessive amounts of text on there. Aaron.
Like the work for like your main points, and then you have like details on like that you listed out loud.
That's right. I see no details on my presentation. It's all verbal. I want to make sure that my audience is depending upon me verbally. If my presentation carries all of my research information, there's no reason for them to be listening to me. And my voice should be carrying my presentation, not my visual presentation. Anything else? Please make sure that you probably didn't notice that you know me. I like to have the black background and the high contrast with a white or a green, something like that. You don't have to do that, but make sure that you are using clear color contrasts. Yellow and bright orange would probably burn through our retinas. But also realize that blue on black shows up pretty decently on a monitor screen. It does not show up on a visual presentation. It doesn't show up on a projector. So be careful of your color contrasts, because every year I've got times where I actually have to interrupt the student presentation and change all their colors because nobody in the audience can see it. So you see that I'm not very creative. I do the same thing over and over and over again because I don't need creativity. I need effectiveness. Notice that nowhere in there am I judging you on flair. So you don't have to be flashy. You just have to be effective. Good. These are excellent points and everything that I want to pay attention to when I'm talking about this. So, what did you note? What's in your notes, Haven?
I also you pretty much like memorize your speech, so like you weren't always able to get it.
Oh, true, but I mean, Haven, you're correct. Let me rephrase my question, though. What notes did you take as if you were my opponent?
Oh, you noticed like you said a lot about like the public health threats and like the stats about them.
So you noted that I'm talking about public health because you want to understand, if you're arguing against me, you need to understand what my warrant is, and my public health is my warrant. Yeah, Todd.
It's kind of a question. Like, can you write down something that you didn't say? Like, you didn't put down like the money you lose, like towards.
Haha, good. Todd has noted already a counterattack possibility, a possibility for a rebuttal, that I'm ignoring money. Now, this could start as a question in cross-ex and then go into a rebuttal speech. So it might work like this. How many tax dollars would we lose if we banned smoking? And I'm sitting up there saying one of two things. Either I've got a stat, and I'll give you a stat in cross-examination, or I'm going to sit there and say, I don't know, which a judge is going to look at me and say, really? You're advancing a public policy change on this level and you don't know the monetary impact? And suddenly the judge doesn't really trust me. And then Todd's going to go into a rebuttal and say, my opponent doesn't even have any understanding of the tax implications or the implications for funding on a government level. How can we possibly believe this person? Well, guess what? I've done the research and I do have the money information. And then you go into it and bam, I'm destroyed. And that's an effective way to do that. So good. Ignore money. That's a good note. What else did you take notes on? Yeah, Zach.
How will the government get all the states to accept a ban publicly?
Good. Anything else? Yeah, Connor.
What will punishment be if
Tori.
The government already warns about the side effects that people already know.
So, Tori, are you getting to the point that this is more of an issue of free choice on the part of the smoker? So what about choice on the part of free Americans to kill themselves however they want to? Aaron.
A couple of things. One, you're saying banning smoking will help, but how do you know if people are going to even obey the law? Because marijuana and alcohol is like, a lot of times like illegal. So like alcohol is illegal, but people still do it. So how banning, how's it going to help?
Good. Haven.
This is actually a question. In your constructive speech, do you have to like say how it's gonna happen, like how you want it to happen?
Not necessarily. I'm just supporting the fact that it should. I don't necessarily have to specify how, although you could call me on it. You could say, what form would this take? And I might say, well, it'll take the form of federal law. I'm just saying, the Senate and the House of Representatives get together and they pass a law. And then there are implications for that. Same thing as banning of any other illegal substance. Todd.
it's like they already warned you like on the side of the cigarette about that?
Right. So why are warnings